Hello, so this is my first impressions of the new midscope for Naafiri as a GM Naafiri OTP, pretty much. Um, I looked at all the abilities already, and I want to say that I think that this is very jungle skewed. Like, for a laning phase, I think this is going to be really hard to play around your abilities, which we'll go over in a second. One thing I'd like to point out is that the bug is still in the game, by the way, where you can send your dogs. So I think that's so funny. That's so funny that you can still do this. This is before the rework, and you can still do it on Naafiri. So if you know how to do this, then don't tell the Riot team yet until it actually comes to life. So hopefully we can keep this in the game. That'd be great. While they're working on Naafiri, I think it's actually not that bad to maybe fix out some of her like weird bugs. But let's see. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that the passive. They said that they want to add more dogs. They didn't really do that very well. I'll just say it that way. So the passive, it now goes up to, instead of 2 to 3 dogs, where you get your third dog at level 9, you get your dogs more spread out, and you don't have to get them when you ult necessarily, which I find is like really interesting, because that's gonna make her less reliant on having to ult, for sure. But it's gonna also be weird because they nerfed the damage that each individual dog does. You still have the Sheen proc though, which is really good, but it's still really weird to see that they're like nerfing that damage, because you're not really getting that much value out of like every individual dog, if you know what I mean. If you've played Naafiri, you know that your dogs will die very quickly unless they're actually hitting them, or unless they're not hitting them, I should say. Your dogs kind of die a lot to AoE in team fights. There's so many spells in the game that, like, they're not even targeting your dogs really, but they're just gonna kill them anyway. So like, imagine Yasuo, Diana, Aurelia, Hui, kind of Ari, like random AoE champs that can just kill them in one hit. It's gonna be a little bit interesting. But yeah, so for laning phase, they nerfed the Q damage just a teeny bit, which I think is like kind of okay. I think that's fair. They also nerfed her health growth, which is kind of also fair, because one of Naafiri's core strengths is that she used to have one of the highest health growths for an assassin in the entire game. It was part of the reason why you'd be able to build like Bruiser and also Assassin, is because of how much health she got per level, and that's why Naafiri is gated, used to be gated by levels and not necessarily and also gold, yes, but I would say that she was more level skewed than most other assassins because of how her base stats work, because she had insanely low base AD. She had strictly like one of the lowest base ADs in the game, and she probably still does. I don't think they touched her base AD, which is interesting. But they did give, let's talk about the abilities here. So the big thing is that they swapped the W and the ult now of the old Naafiri for the mid scope, and they made it so that your W now gives you 1 second of untargetability, not invulnerability. So you can still be like dying, I guess, to like ignite or something, and you'll just take the damage, or like you'll still like bleed or anything like that. So you're just untargetable. So let's see how that looks, right? So yeah, so it's pretty much the exact same as the old ult, except during the ult like animation, or during the W animation, you actually get the untargetability, which I think is like kind of interesting, that maybe you can like dodge some spells. But we'll see how that goes. But it gives you, instead of it being based off your bonus AD of the old ult, now it's based off your total AD, which is interesting because it doesn't have any incentive to actually max this, because it always remains as being 2 additional pack mates, which is kind of not very good. So that's what I mean by the max dogs that you can get still is still 7. So they kind of just like lied and said, yeah, you're gonna get more dogs, but realistically you don't really get more dogs. So that's kind of strange. I don't really know why they did that. So some things that are actually important about the W that I didn't mention, and this is just like an editor's note, is that the W can't be cancelled by like item activations or anything like that. So it's not really... It's just like literally the same as like the old alt, which is fine. But one of the big things is that for a jungle Naafiri, which is why Naafiri is going to be so OP for jungle, is that if you E from out of vision, you're gonna have your dogs always tank, right? So if you E like this, you're gonna have your dogs tank, and then look what happens after your dogs die. After your dogs all die, you're gonna tank the tower, but watch what you can do. You can let it ramp up on you, and then you can press W and cancel it. And you make the tower reset and hit your bonus additional dogs too. This is like insane for jungle Naafiri. Also for mid lane Naafiri, but like you being able to poke like this and basically fizz E people like under the tower is gonna be so OP. Like you can start tanking W and then cancel the tower shot entirely. It's so strong. It's such a strong ability now. Just from that alone, it's kind of akin to like a Kali Shroud when it got released, or like obviously Fizz E. So we'll see how this goes. So the next thing is that they lowered the damages, both parts of the damage, I'm pretty sure, of the E. But they made it so that the range of it is you can cast it in any direction, obviously, but you can cast it short like this. You can cast it like on yourself, or you can cast it long, and it's much longer than it was before. It's 100 range longer than it was before. It looks kind of silly right now. I have no idea why it's like that. It looks like really dumb. They should really fix the animation for this because it looks really bad. But I think that this is pretty okay. This will change a lot of the wall jumps. One of the most critical wall jumps that I find myself doing like almost every game is this one over the raptor wall. And you can still do this one like on live. So you could probably do like ones that are like this more easily. So let's see. Yeah, you can do like this wall like really easily. You can probably do, there's one that's up here. When it's not this Baron, when it's the other Baron, there's like a wall that's right here that's like kind of tricky to do. You probably can just do that one like super easily. This is gonna help a lot with like these kinds of dashes. Oh yeah, that feels really good. Oh, that feels amazing actually, where you can just dash over like that. That's really good. And then I'm pretty sure you can now dash over these kinds of walls too. Let's see. I know that you can dash over this, obviously. Let's see if you can dash over this. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's like insane. But yeah, so that's enough for the E. Obviously it stores the packmate's HP. So you're gonna be able to play around that a bit more, because when you don't have your W on, you're still gonna have more dogs, which is like, once you get more levels. So let's see, at level 15, I think it is. Yeah, at level 15, you get 5 dogs, just out for free. And then once you press your W, you can have 7 like you did before. And when you E, they all go into the same pattern as they did before as well. And they'll go in front of you if you have enough move speed. But I'm surprised you don't even get enough move speed to actually do the... to actually have them block for you yet. That's interesting. Maybe it's because I don't have boots, but it's fine. So the next big thing is the ult. So they swapped them. So now you have a point and click dash as your ult. It does way more damage than it did before, like a lot more damage than it did before. It still slows them like it did, but it's also much longer range. It's 900 range, which is almost the same as it was at max ult strength. But it's at level 1, at the level 1 ult of this, it's always 900 range, which is really insane. That's like a lot of pressure they're able to put out, especially when you're roaming. Because before at rank 1 ult, it was very short, so you had to like sometimes E first and then ult. So this is pretty good. But this says packmates become untargetable and dash alongside Naafiri. So what you can do now is you can walk here and you can go through enemy targets. That's the big thing, is that now you can go through them. I have to wait until the ult runs out. So you can go through all enemies, which is like really insane. And then if you get a takedown on the character, you get your ult back up again. So you can keep resetting in fights, which I think is like kind of interesting. But I think they should make your W also reset at that point, or have it somehow tied to that. Because if you're just gonna burst down one target and then have your like only 5 dogs at like level 15, earlier into the game you're only gonna have 3 dogs. So your damage output is gonna be very minimal, I'd say, without having your W active. So if you W first and then ult, you can go through everyone. And then this also just kind of makes you completely untargetable, I guess. Not like while you're dashing, because it's still cancelable. Which is kind of... I don't want to say it's bad, but I feel like they should also maybe give her just straight up unstoppable. I'm not really sure if that would make it like game breaking, but you being in a channel and maybe being cancelled off your channel seems like a really hard thing, because you're still gonna have to W, which is like your cast animation, and then you're gonna have to ult, which I still think is okay. I think the most important thing is that you can dash through enemies. I think that's really good. That's gonna help a lot of lower elo players for sure, because I've watched like lower elo players play, and they always like talk about how people like like imagine this was Nautilus, right? Like if this were Nautilus, like I would not be able to get through to kill the ADC here, right? It would be like literally impossible with my ult. But now you can just like dash through it, which I think is great. And then it resets. I think the damage on this looks pretty good. Definitely does not look bad. But yeah, I think the highest skill expression part of the kit is going to be your W. I wonder if you're actually gonna have to hold this for after you go in. Like, you might have to do that. You might have to ult first and then W at sometimes, because you need the untargetability, which is gonna be strange. But it also slows them for a little bit. I think maybe the slow should be a little bit better too. I was thinking maybe they should make this slow on the E instead, but maybe not. It's still not that bad to like actually, I guess, melee W, like melee use that now, just after you auto attack, just so your dogs get an additional hit and then you get the massive damage off. That's actually like really good damage, honestly. That's not bad. But I just think that this is like so weird, like that it only gives you more move speed and a teeny bit of more cooldown. They should really like change this to be like maybe more bonus AD per rank up. I really don't like that. I really don't like that. It's just based off your total AD the entire game, and it's like static, so you're not getting like the fantasy of having like a million bonus AD from your ult anymore, really. But yeah, so I'm gonna be trying this in some PvE games for a bit, and I'm gonna see how that goes. That'll be great.